Hello, my little Luxes. Welcome to another little channel of horrors, and it's a different kind of episode. We're still filming on Saturday, although just barely. It's Saturday night, due to the fact that, oh yeah, I guess I should say and introduce myself. Hi, I am Charsie Lux, your host of this lovely little channel, and with me is my best friend and partner in crime.
DC, but you've been at a bachelorette party.
I've been at two of them,
Say it.
so
Because she was watching strippers strip. That's what happened.
I was gonna say
PPs.
they were very entertaining bachelorette parties, but no, there was no nudes, no nudity, no PPs, no peeing. But a little bit of drinking involved, and you know what? I might have a glass of wine in my hand right now.
I don't have a glass of anything. I don't even have water this time.
I was gonna say you technically can't drink, so
no, but I can do this.
I'm gonna speak very quietly and be all ASMR like for the rest of this episode.
We kept making fun of, well, I mean, I guess we shouldn't make fun of ASMR, but at the same time, it's to each their own. But to us, it's kind of one of those weird things. But I don't think we could do an ASMR episode for a little channel of horrors. I don't know.
Be very odd, it would. But yeah, but you did mention that this is going to be a weird episode. You mentioned that.
It is a weird episode. Well, we kind of realized because of we didn't really announce the movies last episode. B, because of my weird ass week. I mean, if people haven't obviously noticed that I was barely even on Twitter this week anyway.
Yeah.
In fact, I should have seemed like I was non-existent because I haven't been on Twitter in the last few days because of pre-planning for a couple of bachelorette parties and going to bachelorette parties. And then my one friend's wedding is next week. So it's been kind of a crazy week. And on top of, you know, my promotion at my work, I've been learning a lot more shit. So that's been on top of everything else. Decided for this episode, it's just going to basically be just me and DC talking about certain things in her life. And the thing that we kind of landed on, it's like, let's talk about the horror films that actually got us into horror. So, because obviously, you know, as a kid, I've seen quite a few horror movies, but they scared the living shit out of me as a kid.
Oh, horror!
You never were scared
though. The movies that got us into horrors.
Oh well,
man, all the notes I took are just out the window now.
Out the window. I mean, we could talk about that too.
Yeah.
I mean, how many people probably think that I am saying little channel of horrors instead of little channel of horrors?
That is the sole reason why my whole life I have pronounced it horror, just because I'm from the South and you couldn't tell that at all.
No.
And whenever I say horror, it sounds, if I say it fast, it sounds like horror. Yeah, man, I watch a lot of horror movies.
I watch a lot of horrors.
I like horrors.
You smelly I do too.
Oh, it's so great. Oh my God. But
so we're gonna talk about the films that started it all. Like, what was the one? So who technically would start this off? I mean, I guess I could just force you and make you tell your story first.
I could do it like this because I have a theory on this. It's,
I think you and I were about the same age when we both started getting into it too, because I told you I was 14 and I think you said you were 14, 15.
So 12, 13. But the thing is, like, I have a theory on horror that there are 3 stages to horror movies. It's the first horror movie you ever watch, the movies that got you to say, hey, I could get into this, and the movies that made you obsessed with horror movies. And but a lot of people are like, no, that's one movie for me. You know, they're like, oh, the thing, I watched The Thing. The first horror movie I ever watched was The Thing, and I immediately loved horror movies. Well, then you hit all 3 of your stages in one go. But a lot of people will see a horror movie and be like, yeah, that was pretty cool. And then they'll see another one like, I could get into this. And then they'll be like, I am obsessed and this is what I love. So, but I can shock the world, this whole, or all of our fans, in that horror is not my favorite genre. So,
and you and I have had this conversation
Yes.
before, and mine are mixtures.
Yeah.
So,
oh yeah, but I've always been more of a drama guy. And I mean, I don't have a drama tattoo and I have a horror tattoo, but it's like, I love horror movies, but if I'm going to be trapped on a desert island for like my entire life, and they're like, you can only watch one genre of film, it would probably be drama, because I can just, horror movies are so rewatchable and so much fun to rewatch. But after a while, it's just like, okay, there's a killer and he's killing teenagers. Got it. So, it's cool. But I mean, I had my whole spiel. So if I don't know if that's what happened to you, if the first movie you ever watched just turned you on to horror movies. I don't know. Maybe it did.
Well, my number one favorite movie of all time, including without even like, if you take out the element of horror movies, my favorite movie of all time is still The Thing.
Yeah.
But The Thing wasn't the one that got me into horror. And believe it or not, the first, well, I can't remember the name of it now. It was, I think it was Cass who had told me, because I had said it was a black and white film and it was these floating brains that would attack people. And he told it to me, and I finally, like, for all these years, finally knew the name of that movie.
I don't know. I know
that.
it can't be. I don't think it can be that.
Yeah, but the one that I actually remember was Tremors 2. That was technically the first one that I ever would have saw the whole movie. And I just remember that night having nightmares. And for weeks on end, I couldn't walk on grass. In my head as a child, if I walked on the sidewalk, I was safe. Obviously, knowing as an adult, a sidewalk couldn't protect you from graboids. But it's just funny because that film now to this day is special to me now, where it is. It's one of my favorite horror films that I have. But then of course you go into where it's like, I think I saw Ernest Scared Stupid, The Troll freaked the shit out of me too as a kid. So I had seen quite a few horror movies. I think I even saw Brain Dead or Dead Alive, whichever way you want to call it. That scared the shit out of me too. So I saw a lot of horror movies before it actually even clicked in my head that I even wanted to watch it. And it wasn't till my teen years. But I'm curious, I want to say that you've told me which one was the one that got you into it and why it got you into it.
What got me into it or what got me obsessed? Because those are two different things.
Well, you're going to start with the one first, the one that got you into horror movies.
Yeah.
And then, obviously the one then that moves you up to the
obsession. Yeah, because I've already told the story of my very first horror movie, Nightmare on Elm Street, when I was like 2 years old. So, I think you're
Don't like Freddy pets you.
Yeah. Well, okay, I do remember my exact age. I was 13 because it was 1996. I remember it specifically being 1996 because there was a little video game out, because I was a little video game nerd before I was a movie nerd. And there was a little video game, not a huge deal, called Resident Evil. Don't know if anyone's ever heard of it. Very small. It was a little indie thing, made by this really small this little small company called Capcom. But no, that came out and I was, to put it mildly, obsessed with that game. I played it, I beat it, I played it, I beat it, I played it, I beat it. Me and my cousin Justin would play it and just watch and just see what we could find in the little crevices. And we got the strategy guide and we were like, oh, let's find this. And in the strategy guide, there was a little blurb from the creator of the game who said that the main inspiration of this game was a horror film called Dawn of the Dead. And me and my cousin were like, oh, we should see that because this like inspired our this game. This would be great. So we went to kids, you don't know, but it's called a video store. It's this magical place. It's like a Netflix you can touch. You go and you grab
Netflix.
you grab a movie and you take it up to the counter and you say, here, I want to rent this. And they give it to you when you give them money. It's crazy. And if you didn't return it on time, they would hunt you down.
They'd charge you for a late fee.
Yes. But we rented the movie Dawn of the Dead, George Romero, and that is a bloody, nasty film. And I was 13. So I'm saying, no, I was 12 because Resident Evil came out it came out around my birthday. So no, I might have been 13. So it was like watching porn for the first time. I'm just like, oh, this is great. Oh, there's movies out there where you could see people getting torn apart limb from limb. This is fantastic. And I was like, oh, and I like took it back to the movie store. I'm like, I need more movies like this. And they're just like, you've never seen a horror film? It's like, yeah, we'll go into that section where you got that movie and pick literally any film. And I was digesting Friday the 13th, Halloween. I was getting it all in there. So yeah, I became a horror fan through that, but I was not yet obsessed because I was still choosing video games over movies any chance I got. Just like, oh,
and you were just scratching the surface.
Yeah, I had to get a little older and kind of understand horror films because I would watch all these movies and I still didn't quite understand the tropes. I didn't really understand that this guy's going to kill every teenager who does drugs and has sex and all that. I didn't know the rules, all of that. I would just watch these films because I was in it for the blood. I was like, I want to see the blood and guts. That's all I want to see. Oh, and the boobs, because holy crap, there's boobs in these movies. Woo! I like it. And I was a teenager and I was doing terrible things to myself watching these films. Just and this was VHS. So it was, I had to stand up and rewind and play, sit back down, get in my position. Oh, didn't work. Stand up, rewind.
You want to talk about them not knowing what a video store is?
Sorry. A VHS is like
rewinding?
a heavy DVD. It's a DVD
in a rectangle shape
for real
with tape in it, like actual tape.
Yeah, it's crazy. It was like 2 reels and it went and after you got done watching the movie, if you wanted to watch it again, there was just no play again. You had to hit the rewind button and wait about 14 minutes until that thing said
rewind.
It's crazy.
And if you were unlucky, the tape would snap and then you had a bad VHS.
Yes. Luckily, I was that kid that was smart and had one of those splicers. So anytime my VHS is broke, I could splice it together and I could make the tape good again. So I was one of those kids, but it was, yeah, man, that was a time. And then DVDs came out and ruined everything.
I like not having to rewind anything. I don't miss that. If anything, I don't miss that.
I had my own it was like a little Corvette, and you put your tape in the Corvette and close it, and it rewound the movie for you. That way you just pull the tape out and rewind it and just move on to the next movie. And you watch the next movie.
Wait. Was it like a little red Corvette too?
Yeah, a little red Corvette.
My dad had that too.
That thing is stuff, dude.
Had a card had the little license plate and everything. Yeah.
And it popped up like out of the windshield.
Up. Yeah. I think it even lit up when it was rewinding.
Yes. And like it was so loud. That thing was so loud. If you had that, you had to have it in a separate room. Because it would overpower.
Watch anything with that going.
Oh man, beautiful. Like those are good times, man. Like in the 90s. But weirdly, I did get that on VHS. in 96, but 96 is when the first DVD came out. Fun fact for those of you who don't know, the very first DVD to ever be released was Twister. Fun fact. Yeah.
Another fun fact. My husband was definitely one of those people that bought it because one of his favorite movies is Twister. So.
Are you kidding? That thing was $35 when it came out on DVD. And
oh my God.
I
can't. Yeah.
I still had it. That was brilliant. That is a brilliant piece of cinema.
Well, what's funny is Nate and I watched that, I want to say, gosh, recently, because it just hit an anniversary. And when watching it, we're like, you know, at the core, this is technically a horror movie.
Yeah.
And the bad guy is the Twister. And it's like, huh, it kind of is. So yeah, if you go to the root of it, it is kind of a horror movie.
Yeah. Oh yeah, like it's well, a lot of people look at Independence Day and they're like, oh, it's sci-fi. I'm like, at the very core of that film, it is a horror film. Like, it's a unknown entity coming in and killing people. Like it's horror, man. But it's got
dark points that are,
Oh yeah.
Well, I mean, just like most horror movies now, you gotta mix the comedy in with it. So but so the story of how I ended up liking horror, because before, like I said, anytime I would watch a horror movie, my friends tried for years, especially in our tweens. So before we technically hit our teenage years, they were trying to get me into horror. And I want to say what had happened was it was around when I was 14, had like my first boyfriend. And how it ended up happening was because my best friend was also best friends with him. So it just turned into one of those things where we'd all three kind of like start hanging out. Well, eventually down the road, I realized, you know, I kind of like this guy. He's pretty cool.
Yeah. So
it turned into that typical, like, I told my best friend that I liked him type of thing. And then she ran off and told him, oh, so-and-so likes you. And then it turns into, well, he couldn't come tell me it back. So he asked me out through my friend.
That's why women are so lucky. Like, all you have to do is say, I like you. And a guy's like, like,
okay.
Yeah, it's not fair.
So it turned into my best friend at the time wanted to go see Jeepers Creepers. And when it was in the theaters, and of course that one was rated R at that time. So there's no reason why a group of 14-year-olds should have been allowed in. But back in that day, which I don't even think it's allowed now, even with parent consent, I don't think that they're allowed into the theater anymore on their own unless the parent sits with them. But back in the day, if your parent brought you to the theater, bought the tickets, gave permission, they could then leave the theater and you could go and watch it yourself. Yeah. Now, mind you,
it's 2001.
Jeepers Creepers at that time had been out for a while. And so what generally happens when movies have been out for quite some time? And we went to a matinee showing in the afternoon. And I had no interest in going. I was pissed. Like, they lied to me and said that we were going to some drama movie. And then when we get there and I realized that his mom is buying us tickets to Jeepers Creepers, I was pissed. I'm like, you guys know I hate horror movies. I'm going to be so scared. I'm going to be freaking out. I'm going to be running out of the theater crying. I'm so scared.
And right now, everyone listening is like, she was scared of Jeepers Creepers. And all I could say is, fuck that. In 2001, Jeepers Creepers hit different. Like, it was, I don't get scared at movies. I did not get scared at Jeepers Creepers, but I know when something is scary and I'm like, this is terrifying. Like, like, so I can't imagine what you were going through in 2001.
And also back then, I was actually scared of horror movies. So the thought of going in there, so it's me, my boyfriend, and my best friend, because she wanted to go and she really wanted to see this movie. So I'm sitting in the middle. So here's my boyfriend over here, me, and then my friend. I'll just call her Jay, so it's
Yeah.
easier, so I don't
Call her
accidentally
out.
say her. But so she's next to me and she's all excited and ready. Now, mind you, since it was so late and when Jeepers Creepers was out, it was only us in the theater and a 50-year-old dude in there by himself, like 3 seats behind us. We were the
Yes.
only ones in the theater. So it was kind of creepy with him behind us because, just hearing him sitting there munching on his popcorn, thinking like, of course, back then as a teenager, it's like, who comes to the movies by themselves?
He does.
Not realizing that, a lot of people actually do.
Yeah, absolutely
So,
they do.
yeah. So the movie starts and it's like me being the typical melodramatic 14-year-old at that time. But then it's like the movie gets going and going. And it's like when you first get to the church scene, and I'm just all of a sudden infatuated. And I'm just like, oh, this is pretty cool. And just seeing the gore and everything happening. Well, then I realized when the scene where he falls actually into the basement level of the church and all the bodies and everything on the wall. All of a sudden I realized that my friend, she's freaking the fuck out. And she's literally scared. I'm the one that's sitting there like this, watching it. And she's like literally trying to sit in my lap, like, oh my God, I can't watch this movie. And I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you? You're the one that wanted to see this movie.
Gigantic vagina.
Pretty much. It's like, I'm like, you're the one that wanted to see this. And all of a sudden it's me who's like fascinated by the movie. And I'm not even kidding. Through half the movie, I think she sat there with her head in her shirt. So that was just funny in itself. But ever since I saw that movie was when it started for me, where I'm like, I kind of dig these movies. And all it took was me to go and tell my dad that I like horror movies. So like, oh, okay. And then he opens the cabinet that my mom had him hide because us kids were not allowed to see horror movies. And it's like, oh, look at this whole new genre of movies we can watch. And my dad loved horror movies. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I do remember that. And it's probably where the obsession ended up going. But I want to hear the movie that got your obsession going.
I have a weird one because
Oh,
yeah,
a weird one for
there's
you?
two of them. There's two of them because I watched them back to back, and it was like I avoided them forever because they were in black and white. And I was a young whippersnapper at the age of 14, 15. And I'm like, black and white, that's for old people. Like, no, screw that. Haven't watched Clerks yet. Yeah. So I was avoiding Clerks because it was in black and white. So it was like I avoided one of my favorite movies of all time because it's black and white. So I'm like, I don't know. I don't want to watch no black and white movies. But the dude behind the counter is just like, no, dude, you need to watch these two movies. These are essential. One of them is a part of the series that got you started with Dawn of the Dead. And he's like, you got to watch Night of the Living Dead. And I was like, I don't want to watch it. It's black and white. He's like, fine, watch the remake. Watch the Tom Savini remake. And if you like that, come back and watch the original. And I did. I watched the Tom Savini remake and I freaking loved it. Of course, I'm like, yeah, that's how you do it. But the other one's in black and white. And I'm like, but he's like, no, just get it here, Night of the Living Dead. And while you're at it, if you like this, watch this other black and white film called Psycho. I'm like, cool. And I got them for free because he was like, no, I'm going to give these to you for free just so you'll watch them. I'm like, okay, cool. And went home and I watched Psycho first, actually. I didn't watch Night of the Living Dead first. I watched Psycho first. And I was like, I didn't even realize the movie was in black and white. I'm like, this movie is wonderful. At the time, I was just like, it's not really horror exactly, but it's really good. And then I watched Night of the Living Dead and my jaw hit the floor. And I'm like, this is cinema. This is like at that point, I wanted to learn how to make movies. I was like, I want to know how it's done. I want to know what they do with the cameras. I want to know how they do the special effects. I want to know everything. I learned about Tom Savini. I was like, and I learned that he did all these movies that I love. And I'm like, oh my God. And I became so obsessed with horror that it had to be 2 or 3 years. That's all I watched. Like, I didn't watch a drama. I didn't watch a comedy. I watched only horror. And I kid you not, I did this. The place I went was not Blockbuster, because I owed Blockbuster like $60 in late charges. So I went to a place called New Release Video. It was right down the road from my house. And there was one right across the street called the Movie Station. And New Release Video, I did it over a 2-year span. I started with A and went all the way down the line. Like, I got A to Z in 2 years. I watched every single horror movie that store had. And at the end of it, the guy who helped me, his name was Eric. And he was just like, dude, you have rented like 500 movies in 2 years and watched from A to Z. And the New Release Video had a better selection than Movie Station. At Movie Station, I got some different movies, but New Release had movies from a little distribution company called Trauma. And that opened up an all new love for horror movies, because I know that I don't normally like corny and stupid movies, but that was brilliant. Like, that is corny and stupid on purpose. And I'm like, I love this stuff. So I got that I did. And unfortunately, in that A to Z, when I got to the F's, I watched some movies called Faces of Death. Not exactly horror, but I was like, on those, I was kind of, what the fuck am I watching? And like, I saw Cannibal Holocaust at 14 or 15, and I'm like, that's
the right time to watch it.
it was horrible. I have only seen that movie twice in my entire life. First time when I was about 14, when I watched it New Release, and I'm like, Second time I'm watching it, and it was internet age, so I was looking up information, and as soon as I found out that they really killed those animals, I was just like, fuck this movie, fuck you, Cannibal Holocaust, I will never watch you again. And I've never put that movie in my collection ever, because fuck that movie.
I have never ever seen that movie. No. There's no way I ever could watch that movie, because as soon it's like I found that out, I'm like, nope.
Yeah, nope. Well, there is another version of it, and someone turned me on to it, and they were like, there is they call it the PETA version, which is the cruelty to animal free version. They took out all the cruelty to animal scenes, and I'm like, I'm kind of interested in that. And then I'm like, but wait, is the rape still in there? Yeah, no, fuck you, I don't want to watch that. And I'm like, that's stupid. And I watched Last House on the Left when I was like 15 or 16. God, you name a movie I should not have watched, and I watched.
You were watching it.
Yeah, because it was 8. And then that's why whenever people on Twitter are like, how many people have heard of this movie? And I'm like, yeah, I've seen it. And like, some people have said, there's no way you have seen every movie. And I'm like, I spent my whole teenage years going from A to Z at 2 different movie stores
locations,
and because Blockbuster had a shit horror section where I was at, they didn't have anything. They only had the big name movies. These things had stuff that was like this had Ginger Snaps. Blockbuster didn't have Ginger Snaps. And I was like, and Ginger Snaps became one of my favorites. I mean, I had a book. I had one of those little composition books that the killer from Seven used to write in. I had something like 4 of those filled out of all the movies I'd watched, just to make sure that I didn't watch the same movie again. Like, I was obsessed about it. And it was like, I'm like, oh, I'm on the J's today, so I better take my H through whatever book. And I'd like flip through it. Nope, seen that one. Oh, I know I've seen that one. Oh, yeah. Oh, there's one I haven't seen. Let me get Rabid Grannies. Why not? It's not a J, but like I picked up like Rabid Grannies, and I watched some shit that like I can't believe I watched. So it's like, and when I worked at Blockbuster,
maybe this is why you hate B-rated horror movies.
Yeah, man.
You forced yourself.
I killed myself doing that. And it was wonderful. I mean, it was like I was a teenager and I was homeschooled at the time. Like, so wait, I was what, 12, 13 and 14. Yeah, I was homeschooled at the time. I was homeschooled through a lot of seventh and eighth grade. So I got really sick. So I was homeschooled through a lot of that. So I had all the time in the world, and I could burn through. I could rent 5 movies a day, and I would burn through those in about 3 days. So in a week, I would watch 10 some odd movies. So let's just call it a baseline 10. So 10 movies, 52
per week.
52 weeks. That's 520 movies. And I did it for 2 years. So it's like that's a lot. And so yes, when it comes to horror movies, you're going to be hard fucking pressed to find something I haven't seen. Like,
now, do you remember it?
Yeah, that's the thing. Do I remember it? It's like usually if I see the cover art, I'll remember it. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I remember that. There was one that I remember specifically had the scariest freaking cover art. It was Dead Next Door. And it had a zombie with a gate over his mouth. And it was horrifying. And I'm like, I have to get that. That looks fantastic. I'm not sure if I watched that in the run because I don't know when it came out, because this would had to have happened between 96 and 98. And so that means that Scream was a part of that, because there was like that was 98. I was like, there's something like that, 96, 98. So yeah, Scream was a part of that. And God, Wes Craven's New Nightmare, because if there was a new horror movie, Eric would hold them for me. It was like, yeah, this new horror movie came in. The worst one that I ever saw was Children at Play, and it was a trauma movie. And he was like, yeah, we got this new movie called Children at Play. I think it's some kind of Children of the Corn ripoff. Cool. I watched it, and I'm watching this movie, and I'm just like, this is the biggest piece of shit I've ever seen in my life. I sat through it, but I'm like, this is trauma? This is from the people who brought me Tromeo and Juliet and Citizen Toxie? No. Fuck off. Yeah. So I became obsessed with The Night of Living Dead and Psycho, and that started me off on a fucking horrible adventure of watching every single movie A to Z at a
horrible.
Yeah, horrible. It was all right. I even watched some cartoons. It was not bad. Before that, I was just renting wrestling videos, all the WrestleManias and shit. But yeah, all right. Kevin Smith rant over. Your turn.
I was going to say, so the films that got me obsessed, well, like I said, my dad was more than ecstatic to find out that I finally wanted to have an interest in watching horror movies. And the ones that were, I mean, I guess I technically would have become obsessed with it pretty quickly because of the fact with him, he loved watching the ones that had series. So the ones that kind of started it for me, where it's like, I can get into this, was, of course, Nightmare on Elm Street. And the other one was Children of the Corn. Yeah. So obviously, those are the ones. And I know a lot of people, huh?
Malachi.
Fucking clap.
So, I know there's a lot of people that don't like the first Children of the Corn because they think it's boring, but to me, it's got a huge special place in my heart. And it's like, I just, and I remember sitting on the couch with my dad and my brother, because of course my brother and my dad always watch horror movies together. So that was the thing that they used to do together. Well, then it became the thing that we did together. And my mom's like, oh, I don't like horror movies. It's like, okay, good night.
Yeah.
But we'd be sitting on the couch with a big bucket of popcorn and sitting there watching horror movies. So, but yeah. And that, of course, just started the whole obsession. It turned into, wait a minute. You don't just have one horror movie. You could have an entire series, but there's a ton of them that are like that. So then you end up with Friday the 13th, and then you end up with Halloween. Oh, and then you go down the plethora of, there's different genres of these. And of course, it being my teenage years, the ones that I was mostly infatuated back then turned into the teen screams, I guess was the dub term for it. So of course, love Scream.
Like Faculty, Scream, Disturbing Behavior, stuff like that. Yeah.
Yep, exactly. And anything that was related on those marks, those kind of became the
I know what you
movies
did
that I
last
would
summer.
watch.
That's an
Those as
underrated
well.
one too.
That is very underrated. And I even enjoy the second one too. I
Yeah.
love the tropical feel for it, how it had that weird twist ending. And not a lot of people talk about that one though either. But at the same time, I think you and I discussed before that one had a similar script to Scream at the time.
Yes, it was written by the same person.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we did have that conversation then. So
Yeah.
I'm not crazy. I did remember that. I'm like, their scripts kind of very, very similar when you think about it, where it's like, but at the same time, they're both good for what they are. And
well, you also can't forget the scene of, Jennifer Love, huge boobs coming out there and doing her screaming, "Come on, what do you want? We're right here." And I'm like, as a teen, I'm just like, oh my God. Those are huge.
And I think that's back when I got my weird, cute infatuation with Freddie Prinze Jr. So
I had an infatuation with that dude too, but for a completely different reason. He was big into WWE. Huge into WWF. His father, Freddie Prinze, was a big part of WWF and knew Andre the Giant. So like Freddie Prinze Jr. is a part of the WWF family. He even wrote for WWF for Raw for a long time. And it was like, I've always loved that dude. And then he is really good at what he does. And I know what you did last summer, or especially, was it 2 where he was the suspect? Or was it 1?
I think he was technically a suspect in both of them.
Well, there's one of them where he's like really the suspect, and you fully believe it's him because he is acting weird. And I haven't seen
the
those
first one.
The first
it
one
was the first one because he was going out and meeting the daughter to the guy that they had hit on the road.
Yeah. So that was and he was great in that role because he played he might be a killer guy, and it was very cool. I like Freddie Prinze, so that's not a bad one. I mean, everyone had their crush on Ryan Felipe, and you had your crush on Freddie Prinze, and me myself, I would choose Freddie Prinze. So like, if you're giving me from Ryan Felipe or Freddie Prinze, I'm going Freddie Prinze. But if you throw Matthew Lillard in there, they both can just go away because Matthew Lillard
it's Matthew Lillard, hands down Matthew Lillard. Yes. I go for personality, and my favorite role to this day, I actually forgot to talk about the movies that actually got me obsessed with horror, probably was 13th Ghost because of fucking Matthew Lillard. If you want to talk about that role that just where he's a great actor, it was that role right there. So it's like, obviously you love him for his comedy, technically he started off with Scream. You could tell that he could do that quirky crazy, but then playing would he have been a psychic? Well, not really a psychic.
He's more of a Haley Joel Osment, I see dead people.
Medium. There's the word I'm thinking of. So just the way he had that persona in the role. And I've heard of it before, that when people talk about the top 5 characters that they wish did not die in a horror movie, obviously we talked about Randy. Matthew Lillard's character from 13 Ghosts is definitely like my number 1.
I put Matthew Lillard from 13 Ghosts way above Randy. Randy after a while got annoying, because he is me and I know I can be annoying. So but Matthew Lillard in 13 Ghosts, not at all annoying. He was just a guy trying to make a buck. And he did his job. He got them to the house and he's like, all right, you're here, gotta go, see ya. No, don't go in the basement. All right. And in the end, he was the biggest hero, and he had the coolest fucking ending where he's just leaning against that wall, cleaning his glasses. You're like, oh, that dude's the man.
It's like, oh, you can't have him die. But yeah.
And born to play Shaggy too. Born to play Shaggy.
Yes.
So good. No, Matthew Lillard, and like anyone, like you take anybody, you say you can choose anybody from the Scream series. Like you can sleep with anyone, man or woman. Matthew Lillard, screw that, dude. I don't
Hands
care. Rose
down.
McGowan, great. Nev Campbell, great. Matthew Lillard, that dude is so cool, and he's such a kind person in real life. Love that.
That's the thing, is when you find out that the actors that you love and enjoy are actually great people in real life, that means so much more too, where it's like, oh, but then it made me even more sad, where it's like, why does his character have to die in that movie?
I think I'm adding him to the list. Keanu Reeves, Brandon Fraser, Matthew Lillard. The three people. They're the holy trinity. You can't hate these guys. They're awesome. They're wonderful people. Brandon Fraser, Keanu Reeves, Matthew Lillard. That's my dudes now.
100% agree with that.
Yes.
I love everything that's coming out with Brandon Fraser right now, that he's finally coming back in the cinema.
Fraser.
And that he is,
Fraser. You said Fraser. He gets mad.
Oh,
he actually gets mad. It's Fraser.
That was a Freudian slip with that one.
Well, yeah, you don't hear Fraser anywhere. It's always Fraser. But yeah, it's Fraser.
Yeah, Fraser.
Oh yeah, I'm so happy.
Fraser. Yeah. But he is literally touched. Like, he had no idea how much people love him as an actor and appreciate him. And it's like, I loved him since Encino Man, where in his teen years and that, I love that silly movie.
Yeah. And I hate Pauly Shore, but I love that movie. But
I love Pauly Shore, though. I love Pauly.
I had a post the other day that I said, like, anytime I post on Twitter, there is always one person that comes in, at least one, that's like, oh, that's silly, oh, that's stupid, and just disagrees with me. But I made a post the other day where I just came back from seeing, or I just saw Jungle Cruise, and I said, Disney is trying so hard to make The Rock be Brandon Fraser, and they can't do it because The Rock is very charismatic, and he's very he like, well, charismatic, and I forgot what the other word was I used. He just exudes charisma. He's very charming. He's very charismatic and very charming.
Yes.
But Brandon Fraser is god tier level charming, and in The Rock can't match.
He's just a sweet guy.
Yeah.
And
and no one disagreed with me. Everyone was just like, yeah, exactly, Brandon Fraser's the man. I'm like, yeah, he is, dude. Just watch The Mummy. He was the 90s. Like, that dude was a killer, man. God, I loved him. And he was good at drama too. And he's about to be in a Martin Scorsese movie. Yes, with Leonardo DiCaprio.
That's what me and my hubby are ready for, which it's even more exciting for us because my husband's been purposely actually growing out his hair, because what we want to do for Halloween this year, our once again, can't talk again. Hopefully, if we're able to make it to C2E2 this year in December, we would love to basically cosplay both the main characters from The Mummy. Yeah. So he's got Rick's character, so he's trying to get the hair going. But so it's just even more phenomenal knowing that he's coming back into cinema, and just him being able to see the fan base that he has and the following.
Evie is the female's name.
And Evie. Yep.
Rachel Weisz. That was a perfectly cast.
Just like me doing in a girl like this.
That was a perfectly cast movie. Period. God, I love that movie. It's so beautiful. And people crap on the third one, but I actually like the third one. So I was like,
I don't mind the third one. Yeah. I love the second one just as much as the first one. Obviously, the first one's my favorite one, but I love what Evie's character develops into. Yeah. That's why I really love the second one. And the third one, I'm okay with it. It drives me nuts that Rachel Weisz didn't come back.
Yeah. I mean, she probably read the script and was like, and that's when Brandon Fraser's problems started, was during that movie with the divorce, and he got injured during the movie really bad. And that's where everything started going downhill for him. And it was just like, if any of you people listening do not know the story of Brandon Fraser, look that up. It's horrible.
Very sad.
Like, with the things he went through. Oh my God. Like, and everyone's, because there are a few people out there that's like, oh my God, he's gained weight, he's not a heartthrob anymore. It's like, who cares? Like, the dude is,
you know what he went through.
Dude went through some shit. And it's like, and there was one on Twitter that I saw today that made me smile and made me so happy. And this one girl had a picture of Brandon Fraser from George of the Jungle and Brandon Fraser now, and is like, what happened to him? He went from sexy to something else. She said something derogatory, and one commenter, and it was one of us, one of the community, like posted on it, and he said, now say that same thing about a woman. And I was like,
and see what happens.
Good job, man, because that is 100% true. Say that same thing about a woman, and she would have been blocked by so many people, but because she said it about a man, it's okay. It's like, no, it's not okay.
It's not okay. It's not okay.
And Brandon Fraser deserves all the love and all the support. Everyone should go see, even if you hate Martin Scorsese, Leonardo DiCaprio, and Robert De Niro, you should go see the movie just to give Brandon Fraser some love. Love it.
I don't understand how you could dislike those actors though too. I mean, yeah, they've had some controversy.
My favorite movie on this earth is a Martin Scorsese film, and everyone's thinking, oh yeah, it's Goodfellas. No, it's not. It is a Martin Scorsese and Leonardo DiCaprio movie, a little one, small little movie called Gangs of New York. Like, that's my favorite movie of all time, and love it. Martin Scorsese's the man.
All for the brothel scene.
Could be. Could also be because Daniel Day-Lewis is a boss.
Yes. Oh my God. His character's probably the best. I mean, obviously Leonardo does a great job in that film too, but oh my God, it is a good movie. It's been a long time since I've watched it, but I can still remember most of it.
Yeah, it's like 3 hours long.
Cameron Diaz, she's okay. Yep. I do remember it.
That whole cast is ridiculous. Liam Neeson is in it. Liam Neeson plays Leonardo DiCaprio's dad. The priest is his name. He's the priest. Yes. Yeah. Bill the Butcher is Daniel Day-Lewis. Yeah. Bill the Butcher. So very cool. Very good movie. I love it. If you haven't seen it, any of you listening, if you haven't seen Gangs of New York, you need to go watch it. It's freaking phenomenal.
Obviously. I also love that you said Keanu Reeves. And what's ironic is that today with my friends, we were literally talking about Keanu Reeves and how much we all love and adore him. Yes. And if you ever want to meet someone you want a perfect example of someone, and you hear people probably every day have excuses of why they're an asshole. And they're like, well, my life is shitty and da 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 da. Read Keanu Reeves' background. If you think Brandon Fraser's is bad, go for poor Keanu Reeves' background. But he is one of the most beautiful souls on this earth. And you know what? We could actually live by example and actually be a lot more like him. So,
I mean, see, with Brandon Fraser was, let's say, like, if you're in life, you're walking down a hall, that's what life is. You're just walking down a hall, walking through various doors. That's what life is. Brandon Fraser was happy-go-lucky walking down his hallway, and he just happened to go down a really shitty door. But Keanu Reeves was walking down this hallway, and the doors were opening and hitting him in the fucking face over and over and over and over. Like, he lost everything. It was horrifying. And then one of the biggest stories about Keanu is the time he went and bought a cake and sat in a public park, and anyone who wished him happy birthday, he gave him a piece of cake. Like, that is cool, man. God. And then if you get stories about Bill Murray, I have one of my friends was, I forget where he said he was, but he was on vacation somewhere. And he said he was eating at a restaurant, just chilling. And a stranger came and stole one of his fries off his table, off his plate. And my friend just looked up like, who the fuck? And he said it was Bill Murray. And Bill Murray ate the fry and said, no one's going to believe you, and just walked away. And and then we were sitting there, and maybe a year later, we're trolling through memes, and there was a meme that said, I was sitting at a table eating my burger and fries, and someone took a fry off my plate. I looked up and it was Bill Murray. He told me no one would believe me, and he walked away. And we're
He
like,
must do that for a lot of people.
serially. He is a serial fry stealer. This jackass. But yeah, it was just funny that we had that friggin' moment, because I wasn't there. But he was like, yeah, man, it was fucking Bill Murray. I'm like, what? All right.
I appreciate Bill Murray too. And he's one of those that Bill Murray does what Bill Murray wants to do.
Yeah. I can't put him in the Trinity because he
No.
on him. He's done some things that weren't very nice. So
because Bill Murray will do what Bill Murray wants to do.
Yes. I mean, his peak for me was his Wes Anderson films. Like, I'm a big Wes Anderson fan. Like, that's another little secret about DC there. I love the Royal Tenenbaums, the Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou, Fantastic Mr. Fox, Grand Budapest Hotel. You name it. If Wes Anderson directed, I fucking loved it. So and Bill Murray works with him a lot. So yay.
Yes.
All right. Love it.
So I mean, considering that we ended up not doing a review on a horror movie, but we're still reviewing horror, reviewing actors. We surprisingly didn't review any actresses. I mean, we did talk about a few actresses.
You want to do actresses? Personally that I can go on for hours about.
Maybe that's why I'm not. Yeah, maybe that's why I'm not bringing up actresses.
Samara Weaving. I could talk about that girl, that woman, for days. I love her so very
She
much.
is naturally adorable. It's not even like, I mean, she's beautiful, gorgeous, obviously, but there's this natural cuteness to her that is just, fucking adorable. Yeah. But the fact of how she is quirky in horror movies, that it's just like, it works so good, and she's fun. Like, her personality in real life is so much fun. So I can understand why you have this cute little obsession with her.
Well, it's like, you got to look at all her movies, like flat out Guns Akimbo. She was not a nice person in that movie, but you're still rooting for her. Babysitter, not a nice person.
Didn't see her in the original. Oh yeah, The Babysitters. Well, I need to see the second one.
Mayhem. I mean, you're rooting for her, but she is horrible. She's a mean person in that movie, but it's like you're rooting for her because she's still the protagonist. Guns Akimbo, she's kind of the antagonist. So it's like, and then like all these movies, she does horrible things, but you still root for her. And it's like that's why she is who she is. She's awesome. There's plenty of scream queens and stuff. Neve Campbell, fantastic. Jamie Lee Curtis, that's God tier. That's the one. Jamie Lee Curtis is the one you put on a pedestal. She's the one. This is what all final girls should be. Yeah, this is what all final girls should be. She's not my favorite final girl though. My favorite final girl is Jenny from Friday the 13th. Not Friday 13th.
I thought your favorite was Nancy.
Nancy is my second favorite, only because she stands up to the bully. But Jenny was just a believable one. Nancy wasn't. True. Like, I don't believe that there would be someone, I don't give a shit, male or female, that would stand up to Freddie and start building booby traps. I don't believe that. But still, she did it, and it was awesome. So Nancy's my second favorite. And Lori, is actually probably my fifth, because Lori in the first one didn't really do much. She ran and hid
He
and cried.
builds up to it.
She does.
Obviously, Laurie Strode is my favorite, but I think
She's
it's
so
because of
awesome.
my appreciation for Jamie Lee Curtis, and just she's one of those, like, if you can talk about yours for hours on end, Jamie Lee Curtis is the one that I can talk for hours on end about, and not just her horror films. I mean, oh my God,
True Lies.
she's so good. I love True Lies.
What?
Oh my God, she's hot in True
Yes.
Lies. That's the type of women that I emulate and look up to.
Let's go ahead and talk about the elephant in the room with Jamie Lee Curtis. True or false, she is still one of the sexiest women.
Yes.
True or false? True.
True. Hands down.
This woman did poop yogurt commercials for 5 years, and she was still the sexiest woman out there. I'm just saying, dude, she is bulletproof. I love Jamie Lee Curtis so very much. She's a wonderful human being.
Yes. And you know what? It's one of those where we keep saying it's like personality, but she's just beautiful and gorgeous anyways. But then you add that top tier personality in there, and it's like, she's on a pedestal after that. So
she is what every final girl should be. And Nev Campbell
strive up to.
Yeah, Nev Campbell has said that that's what she modeled herself after, was Jamie Lee Curtis, because Wes Craven was like, that's what you got to do. That's the final girl. You got to do model Jamie Lee Curtis. And any female that has ever been a final girl, that's who you need to model yourself after, because she was vulnerable yet strong. And that's what you need as a final girl. It's very cool. And she's the legend, man. Absolute legend. So may have to add Tony Todd to that holy trinity. And then and Jamie Lee Curtis too. So
I was gonna say, if the Trinity just became a quad to, it's just gonna be a whole poly thing. We got a whole group in there.
It's gonna be this group of people that you are not allowed to hate. So
you cannot hate them, or we will come after you.
Yes, you're not allowed to hate. Well, the only thing I'll say on Keanu Reeves is he is an extremely overrated actor. He's not a very good actor.
I still love him.
John Wick, absolutely. The Matrix, absolutely, because he is playing the perfect role for him. Bram Stoker's Dracula, not so much.
Hey, it was fun.
Yeah, he was great. It's just that accent was so bad. Yeah, like, and ye and stuff. Okay. Well, on the other side of that, though, Winona Ryder, legend, Winona Ryder's accent was also terrible in that movie.
Yeah.
So but it could
She's
also be
great. So.
It could also be you're also in there with Gary Oldman, and by contrast, that's not fair, because Gary Oldman is, like, once again, god tier.
You know what? You probably have to stick him in there too. Gary Oldman is one of those actors where it's like, my husband actually says it perfectly, where he goes, you have the actors that they're great at what they do when they're in that role, but you can still see that actor. Whereas Gary Oldman, you're watching the movie and you don't even realize till you're watching the end credits, and it's like, wait, rewind that. That was Gary Oldman, because he becomes the character. You're watching the character.
There are 3 I can name
that can do that.
Gary Oldman, Daniel Day-Lewis, and Sam Rockwell.
Yes.
Sam Rockwell can do that very well.
Yes.
You do not know who that is. Like, at least with Gary Oldman, like, he had Hannibal. You had no idea he was the dude in the wheelchair. Daniel Day-Lewis, you have no idea who he's playing. It's like, oh wait, that's Daniel Day-Lewis. Holy crap. And unfortunately, he has retired from acting. But Sam Rockwell, he's young and he can still do it. It's, oh god, he's so good at everything he does. Yeah, love all 3 of those guys. But back.
Well, I guess so. I mean, we'll gauge off like how people appreciate these videos where it's just you and I just
Yeah.
hamming it out, especially after me a double whammy of bachelorette party.
Well, yeah.
And
see how these people like it. You know, if you like us to review a film, then we'll do that. We won't announce a film just yet. We'll just say, hold that off for a minute, because it might just be y'all dig this a little bit more. Like,
we want to gauge it.
Yeah.
So, obviously, us bringing in our life stories of things that have happened with us and where we get the love and appreciation, and it could just go on with like story time with Charsie and DC for a little channel of horrors.
Yeah, I mean, because I give reviews on my Twitter. I gave the Don't Breathe 2 review, so I was like, and Free Guy. Oh my God, Don't Breathe 2 was great. It really was. It was wonderful.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to see your review since I've been non-existent the last. Still can't talk. Last couple of days.
Wasn't quite as good as Don't Breathe 1, but it was still really good. But I think it's the surprise of the year. For me, the surprise of the year was Free Guy. I fully expected that to be shit. And that was so fucking good. Like, it was funny. It was like it actually had a plot. I'm like, holy crap, this is a story. Yeah, and it has like an underlying love story that is so fucking cute. Like, this is great. And it's funny. But the thing I will say about Free Guy is, if you don't like Ryan Reynolds, you will not like this movie because it is very Ryan Reynolds. And if you didn't like the first Don't Breathe, you will not like Don't Breathe 2. So it is pretty much, it starts out pretty much the same movie. And then stuff happens and it flips everything. And the coolest thing about Don't Breathe 2 is it brings over my favorite part of Don't Breathe 1, which was blurring the lines of protagonist and antagonist. I'm not I love it when there's no clear-cut good guy or bad guy. And Don't Breathe 2 is that. I mean, you have your protagonist and your antagonist, but neither of them are good people. So it's good stuff. I like it. But yeah, there you go.
I was gonna say those are both movies that I want to see. I really want to see Free Guy, and hearing your review of it, it's like that takes the cake for it too. I love the trailer itself for it.
If you have to choose between Don't Breathe 2 or Free Guy, go Free Guy. Free Guy was better.
Okay.
Free Guy was better. It was funny. I mean, it was just everything about it. It was actually had a lot of heart to it. It had a message. It had social commentary. It was just, it was really good. I mean, I won't give away anything, but there are parts in it that will make you giggle, and parts that'll make you go, oh, and stuff like that. It's very cool. And the cast
doing that in the trailer. So
yes. Well, the love story is wonderful, but the trailer doesn't show the love story. Like, no,
not at all.
Yeah, and it's very cool. The way it plays out is very, 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 very cool. So I was like, I really loved it. And I can't say his name real well. Taiki Waititi. He directed Ragnarok. He is phenomenal in this film. He is so fucking funny. And there are so many good cameos that you're just like, oh, because I walked in thinking this is just going to be fan service and they're just going to make a bunch of video game references. And there is that. But there is with an actual much more. It's good. Yeah. So Free Guy, that would definitely be my pick of the week for that. So I think next is Empty House or Ghost House. I forget what it's called. But we'll go see that. And then maybe The Protege. It looks all right. Reminiscence comes out on HBO Max, so we'll just get that. But we'll see. We got and I did have someone say one thing. They don't know how we can afford to go see all these movies. It's because we don't pay for them. We pay $18 a month and we see as many movies as we want. Like, it's a
special that goes on in your area. So
yes, we went and saw Don't Breathe 2. We walked out of Don't Breathe 2, got our tickets for Free Guy, walked back in and went to see Free Guy. So it was like we did that and we didn't pay a dime. It's just like, hey, we want to see this movie. Doop, all right. And it's $18 a
Mhm.
month. So we buy 2 tickets a month and we have paid for the thing. So it's brilliant until they shut us down again and then we can't use it. So
Which probably is gonna happen, but we won't get into that. I mean,
oh, if
yeah.
they delay Halloween Kills again, oh my
Oh.
God. People have no idea. There will be riots in the streets. They will burn Twitter to the ground.
I was gonna say they already delayed The Witcher, and then they delayed Stranger Things, and I'm like, stop it!
They delayed Venom 2. They delayed Venom 2. They delayed Venom 2, and now it comes out the same day as Halloween Kills.
Oh God! Well, we already know that's not going to do well.
No, like we'll see both. We'll see both on that day. Who cares?
But not everybody will.
Yeah, and it's like, but if they delay Halloween Kills again, it's already been delayed over a year. There will be so much riots.
Damn it!
Yeah, they'll have to do something. Like they're gonna have to release it digital. If they shut down again, they have to release it digital. They're not going to be able to hold out another year. It's not the way it works. Like people will be pissed. Like especially with how much they've been pushing the trailer.
Especially since Halloween is coming up again.
Yeah, they're talking about canceling Halloween Horror Nights.
No, stop it.
No, I'm saying riots in the streets, man. That's what I'm saying. Chariots to the gods, man. Chariots to the gods. They already own half of South America. It's a Thing reference, people. It's the Thing. Chariots to the gods, man. Go.
So, thank you again for joining DC and I on another little channel of horrors. Like we said, we'll hold off on making any announcement for movies, and that will gauge off like how people feel about more just us kind of like gauging like this, which also means you guys can gauge with us just as well. You could always have a conversation with us. Like we said, as long as it's good criticism, not that awful stupid shit.
Yeah.
But we love having you guys here to join us, converse with us, poke fun at us. We don't care.
Yeah.
And don't forget to like and subscribe. You can follow me on my Twitter on Charsie Lux or my Instagram, Charsie87. We can find DC on several different platforms.
Yeah. Death Curse Pod on Twitter. Don't even worry about Instagram. I have one, but I never fucking use it. So, but I do have a TikTok. However, it's mostly wrestling stuff because wrestling TikTok is much better than Twitter TikTok. I mean, wrestling Twitter. Much better than wrestling Twitter. Sorry, I screwed up. But yeah. Yeah, no, I think that's Death Curse Podcast. I think it's the whole thing.
It was Death Curse Pod, the same as your Twitter.
It is the same with my Twitter, Death Curse Pod. Or I don't know.
I think it's. I'll announce it for you now on. How about that? I'll remember for you.
Well, I'm just sitting here like, if you care enough, go ahead. But if it isn't going to make me cry if you don't follow me. Like I have someone now that has put me on a list and they don't even follow me. They just like my memes. I'm glad my memes make you happy. And he's like, yeah, I just don't want to follow you. I'm like, yeah, whatever. I don't care. I only have like 3,000 followers or something like that. So it's all good. It's like 3,000. I don't know.
Well, weird. Like who did anyway, whatever. People are thanks for joining us again. We hope you guys have a wonderful day, a wonderful night, whatever you are watching us at that point in time, because you never know. You could be over in Australia watching us. So,
mate,
have a good one. Mate.